on today's episode of Taking Care of Business, we're going to talk about the JLT and Nikhil rebrand, which is quite a big one. New people moving to Dubai versus new buildings, and bonds versus buying, which a lot of people have said to me recently, why should I invest in a property versus investing in a 6, 7, 8% fixed yield that they're being offered? And then we'll also discuss some of the top performing areas in Dubai. So welcome to my brother.
Hello, everyone.
I think my brother, DNA, we're not a DNA, we have a DNA test?
Listen, look at the size of us. 5'9" versus 6'4".
6'5", 195 centimeters to be exact.
Big old unit.
And you?
Also, the other big thing in the news, it's nearly Christmas.
What's your favourite song? Mine is, do they know it's Christmas time at all?
So my favourite song...
Wait. Dun, 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 dun.
Lovely. My favourite one is with my girls is, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
We got I went like the town.
Yeah, we wouldn't make it through the first round of X Factor.
You wouldn't, I would.
Tell us what's going on then. Get some of the talking points you've got today, which will probably be one of our final podcasts of
2022.
Yeah.
So I think the big thing to talk about is just on headline level, Dubai's performance. Over 30 billion dirhams of property value have transferred in the last 30 days, which means transferred completed sales.
Big number. So what that basically means is a 51% increase versus last November in total transactions. So 10,500 transactions took place in Dubai in November 2022. 30 billion dirhams of transactions. What about breakdown in apartment splits of how that all worked out? So
bear with us, the Allsopp and COO head of coffees, bringing our coffee. Thank you so much. Do you want to wave to the fans? Let them know. There you go.
The beauty of doing live videos. So 7,800 apartments were transacted in November. 917 villas.
That is low, by the way. So I think that is actually a drop in terms of last year by a substantial amount.
Definitely. And one of the things we were talking about off camera was plans for next year. Lewis and I are looking at increasing our office space across Dubai. And what's really shocked us was the lack of commercial premises being bought. There's 261 commercial properties.
I mean, if you talk about commercial property, obviously we're going through this as a business at the moment where, you know, we're eyeing up potentially our next growth phase. Where is our office going to be, and how are we going to invest into it? I mean, if you look at a fit out of, let's say, a 13,000, 14,000 square foot, you're talking 5 million for a fit out minimum. And then if you're buying an office, you're talking 8, 10, 12, 15 million. So the investment in an office is massive. And this is the problem why I think a lot of people don't purchase. Businesses move so quick, and the growth of their speed of growth and the location they're involved in, it can change so quickly. And this is one of the main reasons we've never invested in commercial, really, isn't it? Because we move so quick.
But also, it's also the concern of resaleability. But I think that's soon changing. I think you were talking to someone earlier this week where there is a severe lack of availability in prime locations for properties available today for rent in offices. A lot of them are occupied, tenanted for long periods.
Well, this stat goes in obviously helpful and in hand with talking about the people versus property dilemma that Dubai is facing. I've been on the news recently and a bit of PR talking about Dubai and saying that forget buying, forget selling, just talk about people moving to the country. If they say there's a 5% increase in the population, well, that's 180,000 people have moved to the city, and we're handing over 27,000 properties. That's including commercial, it's including villas, including apartments. We're wildly undervalued now, understocked. And the other thing to consider is a minority of them is going to be offices.
So when do you think we may see an oversupply? Because obviously a lot of these properties that are handing over at the moment, 27,000, probably a similar number next year, maybe a little bit more.
40,000 is projected next year.
We're probably still seeing the lag of COVID, where a lot of buildings stopped during that time, then 3, 4, 5 months. When do you think we'll get to a point where we'll be handing over too many? Like 3 years, 4 years?
Probably longer. And I'll tell you my theory behind it. I think you've got to consider that Dubai has this entrepreneurial spirit. When the rest of the world is up shit creek, you've then got Dubai that has opened the golden visas and businesses to open and tax-free havens for people. And what you can see is that people are moving here en masse at the moment compared to the rest of the world. So if people keep moving here, they have to keep building. And I just don't think they're launching at the pace to keep with demand. You look already, everything that's launched is pretty much sold if it's in a prime development and an okay payment plan. So I think the next 5 years or so, we will be able to keep pace, because if Dubai dramatically drops in new residents down to 27,000, we'll still only be even.
Very much so.
So it's an interesting one.
Okay, so Dubai has recently been ranked one of the highest spending areas by tourists in the world. So according to Gulf Tourism, there was just shy of 30 billion in international visitors spending last year, and it's overtook Doha and London in the top 3 cities. So a lot of people coming to Dubai, a lot of people spending money in Dubai.
Because it's so expensive here, that's why. I'll have a steak, please. That's £800. Thank you so much.
I've seen something on the radio, I heard something on the radio the other day. So there was a restaurant here where there was a bill for 615,000 dirhams in a steak restaurant.
Is that you?
No, definitely not me.
Yeah, it's like, come to Dubai, bring a credit card. That's what it should say.
It's gold steak, and 20,000 dirhams for gold steak.
I mean, look, no matter how you spin it, Dubai isn't cheap. Take the rent out of the equation. Let's talk as a resident. Let's say a beer now is what, 40 dirhams?
Do you know what? Dubai's not cheap. The world's not getting cheap.
No, of course. But let's say a beer's 40 dirhams.
Yep.
That's £9 a pint.
Yep.
If you go for a steak, you're probably paying for an okay steak, what, 60, 70 pounds for an okay steak?
Yep.
Unless you want to go hardcore and join your friends with the 600,000 dirham bills. Everything is just expensive, but I suppose you're paying, it's a bit like a property. You are paying for the location, aren't you? You're paying for what Dubai is, and Dubai is a super high-end, super luxurious tourist destination. So it doesn't surprise me. I don't think it's possible to do Dubai cheap if you want to do the new end Dubai. Now, if you want to go to Ravi's, which by the way is an old school, amazing Indian, you can, and you can do Dubai down the other end. But if you come into the new end of Dubai, you've got to bring some money with you.
Or you can spend 120 dirhams and get a couple of Happy Meals on delivery.
I'm sure Happy Meals, by the way, for £20 for 2 is still expensive.
Yeah, it's still expensive. So what else is happening in the news at the moment in Dubai property market? Obviously, we're approaching a year where news tends to get a little bit slower. We're gearing up for lots of new laws coming into next year.
Yeah. We've got the big one for me is the rebrand. Have you seen the rebrand?
Yes. So JLT community in Dubai rebranded its community, its logo. Shall we say
disco?
Different is the word.
Disco, modern disco, like house disco, like vocal, like Head Candy 2011.
I'm not the biggest fan, I must be honest. I like, for me, like branding, I like simplicity.
Yeah.
I think it's lots of different and weird and wonderful things going on there. But
I mean, if just to describe it to you, I'm just going to pull it up on here. It's purple background, yellow, and it's like
different shapes.
Half circle, half knife looking.
Yeah.
Then half
rectangles.
Plank, like half. It's just a little bit.
It's edgy.
Now, I'm trying to work out what the meaning of symbolism is. Is it because JLT's got these different clusters and these are clusters maybe? I don't know what it is, but I'm going to call it modern funk as well.
Modern funk logo.
We'll let the JLT directors know our opinion on that.
They probably know a lot more about marketing than us, but yeah, it's different.
Okay, so away from branding, I'm going to bring up a point that I'm going to call it a mini argument / conversation I had on LinkedIn. I'm going to talk to you about it. Argument. We were talking about bonds versus buying. Now, this is an interesting one that's probably going to go a little bit in depth, where if you have any want or need to invest into property, or to invest your money in any way, shape or form, this is one where you probably need to zone in on. So, conversation I had was this guy put on his LinkedIn saying, I've cashed out all of my money from Dubai, my properties, the market's going to crash, everyone's going to die. He didn't say everyone's going to die, by the way.
No.
But we will all die at some point. You know that, don't you?
You just broke the news to me. It's very sad. I thought hearing Santa's not real. He's real. Santa is real.
Santa is real. Don't say our kids will listen to this. So this guy said he's selling all his assets and he's putting it into a bond.
Okay.
And that bond is going to pay an 8% per year, and he thinks that is better than buying a property. Now you can imagine me, I've literally started typing immediately. What is your opinion, before I go into my educational piece to anyone listening, What's your opinion on buying a bond versus a property? How do you differentiate?
Well, look, you look at the returns right now, bonds are more appealing.
Okay.
Right now.
Wow.
However, the biggest difference with owning a property is there is very, very little movement up or down on, particularly in Dubai anyway, in terms of yield. So typically you'll be anywhere between 5-7.5% per year, maybe a little bit more depending on what you aim for.
Yeah.
The difference is with property is there's value built up over the years. You actually every year you're generating a return. You're also either paying off a mortgage or you're benefiting from appreciation of property values. And I think we're likely to see more appreciation in Dubai in the next couple of years, which bonds don't do.
Correct.
They may offer you a return, but they won't offer you the upside of property values increasing. The counter argument could be, well, property prices go down. The indicators we see on the ground is that even despite interest rates going up, we don't expect property prices to go down. At the very least, we expect them to kind of stabilise.
Okay. So this is where I was at. So It's good to hear everyone's point of view on it. I am of the opinion that if you are trying to invest into a bond versus a property, you do not understand money. This is my honest opinion. So I'm going to tell you my opinion on bonds versus money so you understand where we're at. So if you're sitting at the moment with 200,000 dirhams in the bank and you say, cool, I'm going to get that money and I'm going to put it into a bond, and that bond is going to pay me 8% per year of 200,000 dirhams. Would you tell me the mathematics of 8% of 200,000?
You are looking at
16,000. I'll help him out there.
Yeah, I need a calculator. So, I'm old.
You're good with calculators, man. So you're getting 16,000 dirhams of 200,000 dirham down payment, which gets you 8% of your 200,000. And that's how bonds work. You'd invest into this bond where they were guaranteed to receive that much money, which is great. But is 16,000 dirhams going to change anybody's life? Definitely not. So why do people choose properties over bonds? And this is massive. And this is where a lot of people make the money. First of all, the biggest word, leverage. Leverage is everything when it comes to investing in property. So we're going to use the exact same example. We get a 200,000 dirham money deposit, and we're going to buy a house. That house is worth 1 million with 20% down. 20% of 1 million is
200,000.
200,000. So the same amount of money is being used for the bond versus the property purchase. Okay, everyone should be there with that. So that 200,000 dirhams, if you get on your million dirham purchase an 8% increase in value, just an 8% increase in value, you get 80,000 on top of your rental income. Meaning that, let's say for instance, you get 80,000 of 200,000 down payment, you're nearly at 60%.
I'm going to chuck a counter argument there.
Go ahead.
I read the post.
Yeah.
So someone said, well, what about you paying transfer fees, commission, all of a sudden then your return becomes less?
I agree, but let me counter to that for you. Let's say you've got a bond.
Yep.
Okay, and this is why we love this. You're celebrating your 8% yield.
Yep.
Yeah. Where do you live? You live in rented. So if you live in rented, your 8% is probably 1%. And you're renting. My house that I own, I'm not paying any rent, I'm paying towards myself, and it's going up in value.
It's a good job I live in rented then, isn't it?
It's a very good job. So if you want to know about bonds and property and the difference between them both, in basic terms, you can leverage your money to buy a house at 20% down payment of the whole value, and you receive profit on the value of the house, not the down payment. So you can receive, again, using the 8% of 200,000 as a bond, or you can get 8% of 1 million, which is 80,000. You're nearly tripling the amount of money that you can make just buying a property.
Next week, we are expecting another Fed meeting. So basically the bank in the US to determine fiscal policy, and we are expecting another rate rise.
Please stop this now. My mortgage has gone up 33%. Just want to let everyone know that.
Yeah, mine's very expensive.
Not good.
But there is good news. Okay, so
help me.
For the last 3 to 4 months, there have been consecutive rate rises of 0.75%. It looks likely from the commentary we're hearing that it will be the first slowing of rate rises to most likely 0.5%. We are expecting more rate rises next year. However, in Dubai specifically, rents are rising at a rapid rate. Rapid rate. So what that basically means is, yes, it's more expensive to borrow money.
Yeah.
However, it's even more expensive to rent at the moment.
Rents have gone up 50, 60, 70%, and interest has gone up 3%. So even with interest rates going up, you still don't win. I mean, if you go back 3 years ago, it was free to rent money, to borrow money, whatever you want to call it. You go to a bank and they charge you 0.2% to lend money, which is just mental. That's how one of the reasons the property market exploded. People were borrowing money for nothing. Just so you understand the damage that interest does do, that banks have to make money on interest. If you're paying 5% interest, my mortgage rate is 5.03% is what I pay based on what it is. If you do that over 20 years, you are paying the whole value, because it's 5% a year over 20 years, you're paying the whole value of your property value or loan amount in interest. So when you're paying it back, you're doubling the amount that you're paying in interest.
Do you know what's crazy? So I bought my first house when I was 18.
30 years ago.
How long was that ago? 18.
But 20 years ago.
Nearly 20 years ago. So first house I was 18. The mortgage interest rate then was 7%. 18 years ago, 20 years ago. So it's like money's still cheaper than it was 15, 20 years ago. So don't be scared by rates going up or property prices going down. If you're living in Dubai and you plan to stay in Dubai, there's a good chance you probably won't look at what your house is worth month to month because you're enjoying where you live.
I have no relevance to my house value.
Yeah.
People tell me, do you want to sell it? I don't want to sell it because it's my home. And I just know that when you buy a house, once you get past the deposit payment, it just becomes a repayment like a rent, doesn't it? And it's just, you know how much you're paying every month. It's irrelevant.
And you can enjoy it more. The difference to Dubai living and rented is you spend a bit of money in your house, make it feel a bit more like home. So, yeah.
Okay, so the last topic for our podcast today. England are playing France, and by this time this podcast is out,
it's coming out. Might be coming out.
Well, this is the question I've got for you. I'm flying to Qatar. You're going to a kids' play instead of coming to Qatar with me. Family first.
Tough choices.
Okay, so my question to you is, what is the final score going to be of France-England? I'm going to tell you first mine.
Okay.
3-1 to France, unfortunately.
I said the exact same thing.
Did you really?
I think it will be going home to France, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong.
I'm going home.
So it'll be a long plane journey to you. Before we wrap up,
45 minutes. I was football manager on 45 minutes.
Oh, lovely. I see this in
days.
the news the other day, and I've got my notes here to talk about, which we are self-claimed Tesla fanboys. Would you agree with that? We don't drive them anymore, but we love Tesla, don't we?
We do love Tesla.
Did you see last week the first ever semi-truck being delivered to Pepsi at the first Tesla semi-truck? One seat, loads of screens around them, and basically they're delivering items.
Yeah, but someone drives it, yeah?
Someone drives it, but there's like
So
screens
it's
all the way around
technically
them.
an electric
Delivery truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holidays are coming. Is it going to be that one?
It's
The big
that's
red
Pepsi,
one?
though.
No, it's Coca-Cola.
No, but Pepsi are the first fans.
Pepsi's a poor man's Coca-Cola.
So going green, and there was actually something in the news the other day about buildings being rated
Okay.
in Dubai, about how green each building is, and a big focus on the green element and what materials are used.
RateMyBuilding.com.
Basically that, yeah.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed our relevant information on Pepsi Cola and RateMyBuilding.com, and we'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.